Card games on motorcycles!
That's right guys, as you may know already, 5 days is finally in Duel Links, which means a shit ton of content's coming. And the first deck I thought I'd play around with? Blue-eyes. So before I continue with the rest of the video, I'd just like to mention that I don't think Blue-eyes is in a very good state still, even after all these cards have been added. I still think the deck isn't exactly tier 1 or even tier 2. I don't think it's tier 3. Maybe someone's going to have a list out there they've created that's competitive and hugely solid, but from my playtesting and my experience, I don't quite think the deck's quite there yet. But in saying that, if you're still a huge Blue-eyes fan, this deck is still going to be a lot of fun for you. Alright, so let's get into some of the new cards. The first card added to the deck is the White Stone of Legend. This is a simple level 1 Dragon Tuner effect monster with the effect, if it is ever sent to the graveyard, you can add one Blue-eyes White Dragon from your deck to your hand. So obviously this card has two main uses in the deck. The first, it has a very good searcher to search Blue-eyes if it's ever sent to the graveyard, which it will be sent to the graveyard quite a lot. The second, it's very good at synchro summoning out Azure, as it combines perfectly with Blue-eyes White Dragon. So obviously this card has two main uses in the deck. The first, it has a very good searcher to search Blue-eyes if it's ever sent to the graveyard, which it will be sent to the graveyard quite a lot. The second, it's very good at synchro summoning out Azure, as it combines perfectly with Blue-eyes White Dragon. The next card is Protector with Eyes of Blue. This is another level 1 tuner monster, but this time it has the effect, when it is normal summoned, you can special summon one level 1 light tuner monster from your hand. It also has the effect that you can target one effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon one Blue-eyes monster from your hand. So this guy's one of your main combo pieces. He's mostly used just to put him on the board, special summon another tuner to the board, send that effect monster to the graveyard, special summon a Blue-eyes, and then using those two cards, you can synchro summon out Azure. The next card on the deck is Azure. This is the card you're going to be working towards getting out on the board, as it's your win condition. What it does is once it's out on the board, during the turn it is special summoned to the board. All Dragon type monsters you control cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects until the end of the next turn. So this means when you get him out on the board, your opponent can't just instantly remove him. It means you can swing into your opponent and they can't just destroy him when you swing into them. It means you can swing in with your Blue-eyes and they won't get targeted either. But it is important to keep in mind this only lasts till the end of the next turn. He also has that once per turn during your standby phase, you can target one normal monster in your graveyard and special summon that target. So normally this will be Blue-eyes. So a couple of things about this card. First of all, it does have a kind of a bit of OTK potential, as once you get him out on the board, on that turn, he's not invincible, but he's a lot stronger on that turn due to his effect. But quite often it's better just to play him in defense position and use him as only a Blue-eyes spawner. So what I mean by that is, you just keep him on the board whenever your opponent removes one of your Blue-eyes, or you swing him with the Blue-eyes and it gets Wall of Disruptions or something like that, at least Azure won't be affected, so even if the Blue-eyes gets killed off, you can just bring it back again. The last monster card I use in my deck is Paladin of Felgrand. What this card does is if it is ever normal or special summon, you can equip it with one level 7 or 8 Dragon type monster from your hand or deck. This card is then unaffected by other monster effects whilst it is equipped. It also has the added effect of you contribute one monster and itself, and then target one level 7 or 8 Dragon type monster in your graveyard and special summon it. So the reason I use this guy in my deck is, first of all, he can be a really good Blue-eyes searcher if you ever just need a Blue-eyes out on the board or just in your graveyard. The second, it can be a really good combo with Burst Stream of Destruction, as this card just requires you to have a Blue-eyes on the board. This includes being equipped to monsters. And the last reason is simply just because it's another effect monster, so it can work with Protector to try and get Blue-eyes out onto the board. There is one more thing I'd like to add in regards to this card though. If you would notice in my deck list, there is actually 2 X-Saber monsters in the Synchrone pile. This is because this card does actually have a chance to get out those 2 X-Saber cards. Because since it is a warrior card, and there is 4-star and there is 1-star tuners, sometimes you can just combine him with the 1-star tuners to bring out one of the X-Sabers. So keep that in mind, this does actually work. Most of the time you don't want to do it because this doesn't have much synergy with the rest of the deck, and generally you're just pulling out a 2300 attack beta that does next to nothing. But keep in mind you can actually do that. Alright, now I'll go through the cards that have probably destroyed your wallet. The first card is Mausoleum of White. I probably butchered that name, but I have no idea how to pronounce it. This card has 3 effects. The first, in addition to your normal summon during the turn, you can normal summon one level 1 light tuner monster. The second effect is that once per turn you can target one face-up monster you control, send one normal monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, and if you do, the targeted monster gains attack and defense equal to level of that monster times 100. And the last effect is, if this card is in your graveyard, you can banish it, and add 1 Burst Stream of Destruction to your hand. So in terms of how this card really combos with the deck, it's mostly just used for sending a Blue-eyes card from your deck to the graveyard, as it can then be used to combo with Silver's Eye, which we'll talk about in a bit, and it can also be used to even combo with Paladin. The added effect of when it is sent to the graveyard to add a burst stream can be really useful for if you ever draw a second copy of Mausoleum. It means that if you ever draw a second copy of Mausoleum, it's not completely useless, as you can always just put it over the top of the first one, send the first one to the graveyard, and get a free copy of Burst Stream. So the other new spell they've added is Silver's Cry. What this card does is it targets 1 dragon type normal monster in your graveyard and special summons that card. Keep in mind this is a quick play effect. So this combos super well with Mausoleum. It can also combo super well with Paladin and other effects that can try and get Blue-eyes into your graveyard. As if you ever have a Blue-eyes monster in your graveyard and you have a level 1 tuner on the board, you can then special summon the Blue-eyes and instantly you have your synchro summon material. Keep in mind this is a quick play effect, so this is really useful during your battle phase, for example, where you can keep 1 monster on the board, swing in with it, test for your opponent's backline. If they have a Wall of Disruption, for example, that Wall of Disruption will only affect that 1 card. Then you can activate Silver's Cry, bring out your Blue-eyes, and then now have no back row for you to swing in with that. The next spell in the deck is Burst Stream of Destruction. Very simple card. If you control a Blue-eyes White Dragon, you can destroy all monsters your opponent controls. Keep in mind that if you do this, no Blue-eyes White Dragon you have can attack during the turn. This is the card that is searched for with Mausoleum. It's also the card that can combo really well with Paladin. And the last card I'm going to be talking about is Majesty with the Eyes of Blue. What this card does is it allows you to send 1 Blue-eyes monster from your hand or deck to the graveyard, then target 1 face-up monster on the field. It cannot attack while it is face-up on the field. Keep in mind, once again, this is a quick play effect. So this card is not only good for defensive reasons, as it can stop your opponent killing you by just making one of their monsters completely useless, but it also can be very useful to just send a Blue-eyes card from your deck to the graveyard. Alright guys, so the rest of the deck is basically just any kind of spell destruction that you like. This is because this deck does struggle pretty heavily with backlines and it doesn't have any natural way of removing it on its own. This can be any Haterunde, any of the Cyclones, Stampeding Destruction, just whatever your preference is. So that is it for the talking part of this video. The rest of this video is just going to be 5 gameplay showing this deck in action. If you liked the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.